This incident was shared with us by Mihir Sanwal. Mihir, who is from Jharkhand, told us that this incident happened to his friend's uncle around 25 to 30 years ago. If you want to learn from this incident, there are many lessons to be gained. Before we move forward with the video, let's share the whole story. However, Mihir mentioned that he won't reveal his friend's name, but his friend's uncle's name is Mohan, and the entire incident happened to Mohan. Mihir, who is from Jharkhand, told us that his friend's uncle, Mohan, lives around 10 kilometers beyond the Jhansi border, in a village that we will keep unnamed. This village is known for its pure quality of jaggery, which is sweet and very pure. Mihir told me that in this entire incident, you will witness some shocking events. So without wasting any time, let's dive straight into the story. The story is from 30 years ago when Mohan lived in a village with his family, his parents. Professionally, Mohan's father worked as a constable in the police force, doing night duties, and during the day, he managed their agricultural work. Mohan, his son, studied during the day and managed the agricultural work at night while his father was on duty. Mohan's father had a friend named Raju Bia, who had a son named Raathi, who was Mohan's close friend. They would hang out together, eat, drink, and even take care of the farming at night together. Although Mohan was the son of a landlord, he and Raathi were never too interested in farming. Both friends dreamed of starting a business instead of following the family profession, just like the current generation, always thinking of doing something different to establish their own identity. Despite their families advising them to apply for government jobs, both friends filled out many job forms, but they were never selected. One day, while Mohan was working in the field, Raathi suddenly came over and told him not to worry, saying, "In a few days, we'll have so much money that we'll be able to start any business you want. And if I start a business, I'll definitely help you too." Hearing this, Mohan was surprised that the person who worked under him was now saying that he would help him start a business. Mohan, having fun with Raathi, replied, "Of course, Raathi, I would love to see you succeed, and we are poor compared to you, so help us out if you get any money." Raathi laughed, and they both got back to work. Welcome to Horror Stories. I'm Ankur Pundit, and here we dive into chilling real life. Paranormal encounters shared by those who've lived through them. Your feedback fuels our passion, so keep those comments coming. Now let's get back to the story. 3 days later, Mohan noticed that Raathi arrived late at the fields, and he asked him, "What's the matter, Raathi? You've been arriving 2 hours late to work." Raathi suddenly showed Mohan a gold ring, and Mohan was stunned. He asked if it was real, thinking it was a joke or maybe a silver ring. But when he looked closely, he realized it was indeed a gold ring. Mohan asked him how he got it, suspecting that Raathi might have stolen it. Raathi replied, "I told you a few days ago that we'll soon have a lot of money. I've invested in a small business, and I'll reveal more later. But for now, let's go party." Though they didn't go partying that day, 3 or 4 days later, they, along with about 8 to 10 friends, gathered and celebrated the entire night. When the bill came, Raathi insisted on paying, saying, "If you truly consider me your friend, let me pay." Everyone was shocked, wondering if he had won the lottery. Mohan, observing all this, noticed that ever since Raathi had started getting money, he had stopped coming to the fields and was only partying and enjoying life. Mohan kept quiet for the time being, and after they had eaten and enjoyed themselves, they left, with Raathi paying the entire bill. Mohan kept wondering, just like you are, where Raathi was getting all this money from. 3 days later, Mohan and Raathi were sitting near a canal, smoking, and Mohan asked Raathi directly, "What are you doing that's bringing you so much money? Every time we go out, you're throwing around 500 Indian rupees notes." At the time, old notes were still in circulation. Raathi replied, "Look, I've started a small business, and it's generating decent money, though there are ups and downs. I'll explain it all later, but for now, let's just go for a ride." They went for a ride, but Mohan kept thinking about where Raathi was getting the money. A few days later, while leaving the fields, Mohan noticed Raathi carrying an old oil lamp and heading toward the cremation ground. Mohan found this strange since Raathi hadn't been coming to the fields lately, so he decided to follow him. He hid behind a tree and saw Raathi meet a tantric, a practitioner of black magic, who was performing some rituals near a sacred fire. Mohan's mind started racing, realizing that Raathi must be practicing black magic to get rich. Desperate for money himself, Mohan decided that he, too, needed to learn from this tantric. As Raathi left the cremation ground, Mohan confronted him, demanding the truth, threatening to tell the entire village about the black magic. Raathi, shocked, asked him to stay quiet and led him away from the tantric. They walked about 10 minutes away and Raathi confessed, "I found this tantric with great difficulty, and he helped me summon a Yakshini." For those who don't know, a Yakshini is a mystical entity that can fulfill all your desires and reveal your past, present, and future. Many gurus in India claim to have a Yakshini that whispers into their ears, telling them people's fortunes. Hearing this, Mohan was shocked and told Raathi that he also wanted to summon a Yakshini. Raathi replied, "Not now, let's wait for a week. The tantric will be back, and I'll introduce you then." But Mohan was determined to meet the tantric on his own. The two friends parted ways after a minor dispute over Raathi hiding such a big secret. Over the next few days, Mohan would frequently visit the cremation ground to see if the tantric had returned. 7 days later, the tantric appeared again, and Mohan seized the opportunity, rushing over and falling at his feet, begging to learn the Yakshini summoning ritual. The tantric, realizing what had happened, agreed. He gave Mohan some mantras and warned him, "You'll need to be careful because this ritual will take 10 days. If you stop the ritual midway, you could die." Despite being scared, Mohan's greed got the better of him and he agreed. The tantric instructed him to perform the ritual under a sacred tree in the cremation ground, warning him that strange things might happen by the 5th day, but not to stop the ritual. Determined to become rich, Mohan began the ritual every night, reciting the mantras. On the 5th day, after leaving offerings of meat and liquor near the tree, Mohan heard a strange voice whispering in his ear, "If you continue for 10 days, you will summon me." This made Mohan even more confident, feeling that he was close to achieving his goal. But after completing the 5th day's ritual, strange things started happening. One night, between 2 and 3 a.m., Mohan woke up to a terrible smell in his room. Upon checking the bathroom, he found 2 dead rats with their heads missing. He dismissed it as a cat having killed the rats, even though it was strange for a closed room to have such an incident. 2 days later, at 3 a.m., Mohan was awakened by the sound of crows cawing loudly near his house. He rushed to his mother, who told him there were no crows inside, but when they went to check outside, there were no crows to be seen. Where was that crow sound coming from? No one knew. Then came the night that Mohan had been waiting for, the 10th night. He sat there meditating, and exactly at midnight, a very beautiful girl appeared, just as Mihir described to me in the recording. Encore Bai. She was so beautiful, more beautiful than any girl you've ever seen on earth. She emerged from behind a peepal tree and said, "Mohan, your meditation is complete. You have attained me." Mohan, who had become deeply engrossed, was completely hypnotized by her beauty. In Mohan's mind, he thought, either I possess this divine being, or maybe I can have an intimate encounter with her. But then he reminded himself, no, don't think like that. I need to focus on making money. The woman, Yakshini, then spoke and said, "Ask, what do you desire from me?" Mohan replied, "I want a lot of money from you. I want to start my own business and advance in life." The Yakshini said, "If you ask me for something, I will ask for something in return. I will fulfill your desire, and you will fulfill mine." Driven by greed, Mohan immediately said, "Whatever you want, you will get it. Just make me rich." The Yakshini agreed and said, "By 3 a.m. tomorrow, you will receive your money." Mohan went home very happy, and the next day he went to his farm, completed all his work, and came back by 3 p.m. Exactly at 3 a.m., the Yakshini appeared in front of him and handed him a bundle of 500 rupee notes. This continued for 3 to 4 days. Within those few days, Mohan was able to open his construction business, and it began thriving. Suddenly, The entire village started noticing, wondering where Mohan, a regular boy, got so much money from, especially after Raathi before him had also amassed wealth. But neither Mohan nor Raathi ever spoke to each other. After about 7 to 8 days, the Yakshini appeared again and told Mohan that it was now time for her to ask for her wish. Mohan, slightly worried, asked, "What is your wish?" She replied, "I want to be intimate with you." Hearing this, you may feel the same shock as Mohan did. The thought that had crossed his mind earlier resurfaced. What could be a more beautiful wish than this? That the most beautiful girl in the world wants to be intimate with me? That night, for the first time, they got close, and everything that happens between a married couple happened between them. Afterward, Mohan felt invincible, as if he had gained so much power that he could lift a truck with his bare hands. He had money and power, and every 2 days, Mohan and the Yakshini would become physically intimate. Mohan became so powerful that he felt he could defeat 10 men at once. Things continued this way for 7 to 8 days. During one of their intimate moments between 2 and 3 a.m., Mohan received a phone call from Raathi. With a sense of arrogance, Mohan thought to himself, "Now I'll tell him that the Yakshini he once had is now with me." He picked up the call while still intimate and put it on speaker. Raathi's voice came through, Brother, Mohan, that's no Yakshini. She's a witch." As soon as Mohan heard the word witch, his body froze. The being that was on top of him, biting his neck, lips, and ears, suddenly let out a terrifying witch-like laugh. Mohan was paralyzed with fear, his body rigid. Mihir told me, "Encore bye." When Mohan shared this story, he said he was so terrified that he soiled himself in bed. The witch was more horrifying than anything seen in movies or real life. Mohan fainted upon seeing her true form. When he woke up in the morning, he found himself normal, but his bed was dirty, and he had lost control over his body. For 2 days, Mohan didn't leave his house. He hid under his bed, scared of the witch. 2 days later, he found out that Raathi's father had died, and Raathi had sold everything and fled the village. Mohan was consumed with fear, unsure of what to do or whom to tell. But as they say, what comes to you doesn't leave easily. On the 3rd night, as Mohan tried to sleep, the Yakshini, in her witch form, appeared beside him. Terrified, he asked her not to harm him and to tell him what her next wish was. The witch told Mohan that there was a woman living next door, 8 months pregnant, and she wanted the unborn child from her womb. Mohan, horrified, knew he couldn't do such a thing, but the witch threatened that if he didn't bring the child by the next evening, he would die within 2 days. Mohan decided that he couldn't go through with it, but the witch assured him she would take the child from the woman's womb either way, and if Mohan didn't help, he would be the next to die. The next evening, Mohan heard the neighbors crying out in grief. The woman had died, and her child was gone. The village was in shock, and the woman's body bore marks of brutal clawing. Terrified, Mohan confessed everything to his father, who was a police officer. His father beat him severely for getting involved in such black magic. Mihir told me that Mohan's body was covered in bruises from the beating. Mohan's father then contacted a powerful tantric, occultist, for help. When the tantric arrived, he looked at Mohan and said, "This boy has attracted a very powerful entity. The witch is extremely strong now." The family was in despair, and the tantric warned them that Mohan's life was in danger. He told them to take Mohan to a hospital, where tests revealed that Mohan was critically ill and would die in 2 months if not treated immediately. The wealth and power that Mohan thought he had gained were just an illusion created by the witch. The tantric arranged for a powerful ritual to be held on the night of the full moon to rid Mohan of the witch's influence. The entire village watched as the ritual took place, and Mohan screamed in agony as his body was covered in boils and blood. His father, in desperation, gagged him with a cloth to silence his screams. After hours of intense ritual, Mohan finally passed out. The tantric declared that the witch had been banished for now, but they had to leave the village as soon as possible. In the end, this story teaches us a valuable lesson. Greed can lead to dire consequences. Black magic and shortcuts to wealth come at a terrible price, and you can't escape the consequences of your actions. Mohan learned this the hard way, and even though he survived, his life and reputation were destroyed. Let this be a warning to never seek wealth through dishonest or dangerous means. Key learnings from story. 1. Greed leads to destruction. Mohan's desire for wealth and power drove him into making a dangerous deal that cost him his peace and nearly his life. 2. Shortcuts are dangerous. Seeking quick success through black magic or unethical means can have severe consequences, as seen with Mohan's illusion of power and eventual health decline. 3. Illusion of power. What seems like success, built through dishonest or mystical means, often turns out to be a trap, leading to dire consequences. 4. Karma and consequences. One cannot escape the results of their actions. Harm done to others for personal gain comes back in unexpected ways. 5. Spiritual protection. Belief in black magic and supernatural forces requires caution. In the story, only spiritual intervention helped save Mohan. Before we wrap up, I kindly ask for your support. Subscribe to Horror Stories and hit the bell icon to be the first to catch our latest updates. Stay connected, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.